Good evening. It is 6 o'clock Pacific Daylight Time. This is the Public Safety Commission meeting for the City of Desert Hot Springs. Mr. McVeigh, can we have a roll call, please?
Yes, sir. Commissioner Cross.
Present.
Commissioner M. Mitchell.
Present.
Commissioner Trejo.
Present.
Vice Chair Lozano.
Here.
Chair K. Mitchell.
Here. Thank you. All right. And Commissioner Cross, would you be so kind as to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Please stand, sir.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Thank you very much, Commissioner Cross. Have we had the opportunity to review the minutes?
Yes.
You all have. I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I move to approve the minutes.
Okay. Mr. McVeigh, did you copy that? All right. So we have a motion. We have a second. If there's no discussion on the matter, please vote. Okay, I'm showing a move. I'm not showing a vote.
So whoever moved needs to hit it first. Whoever hit the second needs to second it, and then it'll come up for voting.
Okay.
At the top. Down at the top. Yep.
Maybe for this, we take a vocal vote?
Have I lost it or what?
Commissioner Cross.
Yes.
Commissioner M. Mitchell.
Yes.
Commissioner Trejo.
Yes.
Vice Chair Lozano.
Yes.
Chair K. Mitchell.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
All right, thank you. All right, has everyone had a chance to review the agenda for tonight's meeting?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve that.
I move to approve the agenda for tonight's meeting.
No, this would be the minutes.
No, the
This is the minutes and not the agenda? Okay.
The minutes for tonight's meeting.
I second.
All right. Okay, it's, so whoever moved, there we go. It's it. Whoever seconded. And the rest of us can vote.
Ms. Lozano, is that a yes?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
I did it.
Okay. Thank you all. Very good. We will now move to the public comments segment of the meeting. Before I read the admonition, Daniel, do we still have the ability for people to watch and comment in on what we do here? Or has that been terminated since the emergency abated?
You mean live chat along with us?
Well, be able to vote or, make a live chat, essentially.
We don't have live chat. People can't jump on to our YouTube channel and start commenting. No.
All right, very well. I'll read the admonition anyway. At this time, pursuant to the Brown Act, any person may comment on matters of general interest within the subject matter jurisdiction of the Public Safety Commission that is not listed on the agenda. Under the Brown Act, the Public Safety Commission should not take action on or discuss matters raised during public comment portion of the agenda that are not listed on the agenda. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per speaker. Speakers may not yield their time to others without the consent of the chair. All comments are to be directed to the Public Safety Commission and shall be devoid of any personal attacks. Members of the public are expected to maintain a professional, courteous decorum during public comments. Please complete and submit a speaker card to the city clerk. You will be asked to state your name and city of residence for the record. Do we have any cards submitted?
We have none, sir.
We have none. Okay. At this time, we'll go ahead and close the public comments. We will move directly into the administrative reports. And First up is the Code Enforcement Monthly Report.
Good to see you guys again. So in the month of September, code compliance received 149 service requests. We performed 357 inspections. We issued 112 notices of violations. We issued 63 citations totaling $163,100. We removed a total of 38 shopping carts, and there was a total of 65 inspections performed by the overnight STVR officers. Code Compliance Officer Valdez completed his second round of his KCO training for his KCO certification. Compliance Officer Messer had an active case on Pearson Boulevard for a large accumulation of trash and junk. Officer Messer and Officer Valdez worked together to complete the abatement of the property. Compliance Officer Human conducted an inspection on 6th Street for a safety hazard. She performed a summary abatement to clear all the violations, and the cost will be billed back to the property owner. Compliance Officer Brock and Compliance Officer Messer collectively removed 23 abandoned shopping carts and several items from the public right-of-way.
All right, thank you. Questions for the Code Compliance Officer? Mr. Drow?
Yeah.
Right. You.
Thank you, Carl. I just had one question. What is the best way for citizens to report a compliance violation besides dialing 911, of course, because I know a lot of people think that they have to dial 911. I spoke to a lot of people, and that's what they think they have to do. So what's the best way to report a compliance violation?
There's multiple ways to report violations to our department. You can email us, you can give us a call, you can use the city's app. That's one good way. I'm sure Commander Chang would say as well that calling 911 is not
Right.
going to be the appropriate response to submit a code complaint.
Right, and that's the people that I spoke to. That's basically what I told them, that unless it's a life-threatening emergency, then dial 911. But a lot of people were confused. I was just wondering what's the best way for them to contact or report a code compliance in case somebody asks.
They can always call the office and submit that way. They can
Okay.
send an email to us if they need. The city's website has a great way to file those complaints.
Okay, and is that preferred?
Yeah, the city's website's
Okay.
probably the best option to go, the best route to use.
Thank you. I just have a question on well, actually, two questions. One is on the illegal dumping. How bad is it in the city when it comes to illegal dumping?
It can be pretty significant in our open field areas where there's a large vacant lots. It's pretty bad.
Has there been any consideration of putting cameras in those areas where we have the most illegal dumping?
That's something that I would not be able to speak on, but I can definitely speak to my compliance director and see where she's at with that.
Okay. And out of the fines, what percentage of fines are actually paid before, without them going onto the property taxes? Do you know that?
Majority of them, they do become paid. We don't have
Okay.
to assess them on the property tax bill.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Lozano, any questions?
Good, yeah. I just love what they do. Thank you very much.
Commissioner Cross?
No questions.
No questions, okay. Sure, go ahead.
On one of the previous meetings, I had mentioned about many, probably like a couple of years ago, there were dumpsters in certain parts of the city where people can dump the bulk items instead of throwing them, in the desert. And I think it was said that you were going to, I forget it was you or somebody else, but that they were going to check to see if we can do that again, or.
Okay, so that conversation was probably had with Christina. I remember her talking about that a few years ago. I don't know where that ended up. That's something that would probably need to be presented to council or the city manager.
Okay. I actually think that was a great idea. I don't know if you guys saw them, but probably like a year ago, they were multiple bins, those big bins. I know there was one, for example, in the corner of Hacienda, and no, actually, yeah, Hacienda and I forgot the name of that street. But there was a big dumpster there. People go and throw their stuff instead of dumping it in the desert.
So the city we have a contract with DVD, and it's a pretty extensive contract. Any single-family home, they can call DVD and schedule pickup for these bulky items, and they'll remove them for free, up to 6 bulky items a year. I think what we're lacking is a little bit of education to the public to let them know that that program is there.
I'll tell you by experience that I actually called for bulky items, and it stood in my driveway for like 3 weeks. So I don't know if that's common for them, but
No, typically what they'll do is they'll schedule it out with you. Let's say if they're gonna remove it on Tuesday, they'll tell you to put it at the curb on Monday night or Tuesday morning, so they can have it removed.
thank you.
And regarding the bulky item pickup, is that the quarterly pickup or is that the
No,
monthly pickup?
That's separate. That's something you call and schedule with them. They'll do up to 6 items a year, and they're not very stringent on that. They usually work with you if you're a little over 6.
Okay.
But it's a contract the city pays for, and all the residents should utilize that. It would cut down a lot of this dumping on the sidewalks. They're just randomly left there. Now, that is only for single-family residential homes. If it's a multifamily or an apartment complex, they would need to pay a fee. It's a small fee to pick up those items.
I see. Again, it's probably a good item to educate the public on, because there are people who live in multifamily dwellings probably aren't aware of that.
It's very reasonably priced.
Okay. Well, I did have one question, and unfortunately, it doesn't deal with something simple. We've all been educated on the Plainview Doctrine. You've all had PC 832, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so if you're made aware of, if someone were to come to you and report something that they believe is illegal, but it is inside the person's home, and there's no plain view from the street, and they weren't invited in to look at it, what would you say to that person?
It's really going to depend on what the violation is, what they're accusing them of. If it's something that's outrageous, we're going to refer to PD. If it's something that PD needs to be involved in. If it's a code violation, we could seek an inspection warrant.
Okay,
That'd be one option.
okay. What a warrant would have to be pursued
Yeah.
in order to get in there to his
Yeah,
Fourth
we
Amendment considerations.
can't go in unless we have your consent.
Right.
And if it is something that we do feel we need to take a look at, we would apply for an inspection warrant.
Mhm.
Now, if it's exigent circumstances, then we're going to go in.
Okay. Would a civilian be able to approach you and request a warrant?
Yes, they can. They can always request a warrant, but when we speak exigent circumstances, there's a fire at the property, there's
sure.
a flood at the property, something that is going to affect the health and safety of the surrounding neighbors as well, or the tenants inside.
Okay. Well, thank you for that answer. It clears up something that has been on my mind for a while. Is there anything else for the code enforcement person? No? Okay. Thank you again for your report.
Thank you.
Good job. I mean, look at these statistics. 30 days in September and 357 inspections completed. You guys are hustling. Thank you. Now we move to the Animal Control Monthly report.
Yes, sir. So for the total in September, we had about 57 intakes. 15 of those were returned to the owners. And with that, all animals are microchipped when they go back to the owners if they're not already. We sent 6 off to rescue, 7 were adopted. 2 went to the county shelter, however, those were both bite quarantines, and those are, the fees are afforded to the owners and not to our facility. We had 20 that went to the vet, 9 dead on arrivals, 0 that passed away in our shelter, 5 that were euthanized due to severe medical issues, hit by cars, and 1 that we lost to cancer in our own shelter. We did 36 licenses, 28 admin sites, 31 warning citations. We had 191 calls for service, And the Animal Action League bus is the bus that comes and does spays and neuters and helps us out with the population. Monthly, they're now back, and we had 31 animals spayed and neutered.
Okay, thank you. Questions for the animal control representative?
I do. Do you pick up snakes?
If they're venomous, yes.
And how do I know that?
Well, we'll go out, you can call us and we'll go out there and see if they are. And if they are, then we relocate them.
Okay. And are we having any mosquito problems?
Not that I'm aware of within
okay.
like our shelter or surrounding.
Oh, okay. I was just wondering. Okay. I think it's wonderful what you do again. But I haven't seen a snake, but it has happened. I know that Rosie, somebody, snake. It's-
Yeah,
Yeah. and I
comes and
would-
removes them.
Yeah, but they're not venomous, right?
She does all snakes. We just do the venomous.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you.
Anyone else? Mr. Cross?
No question.
No questions? Okay.
Hmm.
Neither do I. Thank you very much.
Sir.
We will move on to the fire department report.
Good evening, Commissioners. Fire Department's been real busy running incidents and emergencies and whatnot. And then on top of that, this is fire prevention, we call it Fire Prevention Month. We got bunch of events going on throughout the area, open houses this weekend for several fire departments across the county. Our firefighters have been attending what we call multi-company training, which is multiple units getting together and training, and some of the topics that they're training on are how to fight fire when there's solar panels on the roof. We have an electrical company coming out to do some training with us on electrical type fires in the upcoming weeks. As far as the report, you have the month of September and then the quarterly report. If I'm not going to go through them if there's not any specific questions, but that's the end of my report. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions for the division chief from Riverside Fire?
Does sand, all of our sandstorms, does that irritate fires or create them or something or another? Are they a big part of what could happen in a fire?
So, the wind is the primary driver of, causing a little bit of an environment for fire to thrive in. So if there was a fire and a sandstorm came through, it would, increase the fire activity. A lot of the times what we see is as a storm comes through, vegetation around power lines come into contact with the power lines and arc, cause power outages, and sometimes a fire either at the power pole or the vegetation underneath the power line, something to that effect. But generally speaking, when the sandstorms are coming through, like it did, it was yesterday, I think it was, it was pretty bad. It affects visibility for us being able to drive and respond to incidents. But as far as like enhancing in fire, it's pretty rare.
Oh, good. Okay, thank you.
Just one question. So I was looking at a map of like fire hazard areas in the city, and there's kind of an area around Mission Lakes. I was wondering if there were any areas that you specifically thought that we should bring our attention to, or it could be a hazard anytime in the future.
Yeah, I think if you look in the quarterly report under the significant incidents, you'll see that there was a fire at the intersection of, where was that? I think it was Campanero. Yeah, right in the middle. There's a hillside where there's a bunch of vegetation with some residences above it. That seems to be a frequent spot for fires for us throughout the years. And I noticed it when I was reading through the significant incidents that we'd had another fire there. So that is another area in the city that we frequently talk about.
Okay, thank you very much. Something I'll certainly look into.
Okay. And we do, what is it, fire.calca.gov, a website that lists the very high fire hazard severity zones?
Yeah, I believe you can find that on the CAL FIRE website. It's an older map. They've gathered a bunch of data to update the map. It just hasn't been completed yet.
Right, it's every 5 years, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I
4
think
or
this one's
5
a little
years.
bit older than that.
A little older than that.
But they're working on it.
Okay, all right, very good. Regarding the reports, are we now including Engine 36 and their responses within Desert Hot Springs?
We're not, only because the technology department has had some movement and they've separated, they created a new division, so we're still trying to figure that out. But I do have the stats for the quarterly report. There were, Engine 36 responded 116 times into the city.
Okay. And also, I was curious if there was any new information forthcoming on the changes to be made to Station 37 and the construction of Station 38.
So I know that, I believe.
98, I'm sorry about that.
That's right.
98.
I believe that the Fire Station 37 improvements are out to bid. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure that's where we're at. I know that the plans for Fire Station 98 are actually going through the planning process right now. That it went through initially and they found some things that needed to be corrected. So they've made those corrections and now they're going through the planning process once again. And then one thing I forgot to mention was that we got an update on Medic Squad 37 that's in build now. So the chassis and the body of the fire buildup are installed and now they're putting in compartments and getting the doors ready. So that'll be coming in the near future.
Okay, great. And do we have an update on the construction of Quint 98 as it's
I have
maybe
not
called?
received anything from our fleet manager, and usually when we get pictures and those sort of things, I'll forward those to the commission, and I haven't received any on that yet.
Okay. Last question, do we currently have a mutual aid agreement with the cities of Palm Springs and Cathedral City?
We have an auto aid agreement.
We have an auto aid agreement. And just for the edification of people in these chambers, if you could go over the difference between a mutual aid agreement and an auto aid agreement.
So basically what it is that we've pre-identified areas in which we will help each other out. So, there are areas in the city or outside of it would be in the county area, but Palm Springs would be much closer to respond. That would be that Overture area, kind of on the southwest side of up against the foothills there. And so the auto aid agreement would look something like, okay, Palm Springs, you'll go handle those fires for county fire, and then in exchange for that service, you guys will handle the north Palm Springs area on the north side of the interstate, something like that. Mutual aid would be more like, hey, we're having a big fire, can you come help us? And they have the right to say yes or no to that.
I see. So in the current system as it's designed, if we were to have a break a structure fire where we needed 2 ladder trucks, we've got one coming from the Palm Desert Station, I think that's 33.
Mm-hmm.
And if we were to request a Palm Springs truck 1, I think it's their truck, or the truck that's coming out of Cathedral City, would that fall into mutual or would that fall into automatic?
That's a specialty piece of equipment. That would be mutual aid.
Okay. All right. And let's see, and one last question. Your responses, how have they been affected by the road closures, since we're still dealing with that?
I haven't really heard anything from the station saying that they've had trouble getting to any place. It's more just kind of nuisance stuff at this point. But that, there may be a time where one of the road closures may have a residence on the other side of it, and they just haven't called 911 yet. So, but as of yet, we haven't really run into any significant issues.
Okay. All right, good. Any other questions for the fire chief? No? All right. Thank you, chief.
Thank you.
Moving on to the police department monthly report.
Good evening. For the month of September, we had a total of 3,774 calls. Out of those, 1,378 were officer initiated. And a total of 1,378 for self-initiated calls, which includes traffic stops, building checks, vehicle checks, and pedestrian checks. Total of 140 arrests and 290 citations, which include misdemeanor citations, traffic violations, and municipal codes. For the month of September, we had two reported rapes, a total of 19 assaults, which include aggravated and simple, total of 20 narcotic offenses, which includes drug paraphernalia and narcotics violations, 1 robbery, 1 kidnapping, 8 reports of motor theft, and 4 reports of weapons violations.
Questions for the chief of police?
Not a question, just a comment. I know in January, we're changing the way we report incidences in the city. Is there a plan to educate the public about this change? Because from what I understand, because it's more accurate, it'll make it look as if our crime rate has increased when it really hasn't. So is there any plan to educate the public? Because I think it's better for us to get ahead of it and let us, tell the story rather than other people seeing the reports and developing their own story, saying, well, the crime has really increased in Desert Hot Springs when it really hasn't. It's just the way the numbers will be reported moving forward.
I'm not exactly sure which reporting. Are you talking about the NIBRS reporting?
Yeah.
Converting from UCR to, I don't know anything about dissemination to the public or any public awareness campaign, but I could speak with the deputy chief about
Okay.
that.
Okay. I'm not talking about dissemination, but from what I understand, it will make the numbers look worse when they really aren't. So I think it's better to get ahead of that and, let the public know that this is why the numbers have changed rather than the public or the news outlets developing their own story. That's my concern. Yeah.
I'm just noticing that from August to September, it was a significant drop in lots of crimes. Is that what you're referring to, that how?
No,
Oh,
it's
okay.
the new reporting system.
Oh, okay.
That's,
I mean, I think I'm happy to see that it's the lowest of this year so far. Is that because of the sandstorms? People can't see to do?
Sometimes it can fluctuate because of the summer months, and then it goes to the winter months, depending on weather. I mean, crimes in this different variety of factors.
Oh, I'm happy. Thank you. You always do a great job, every one of you.
So, in regards to the accidents, is there proactive enforcement that we are currently doing for traffic collisions?
We have an OTS grant with this Officer of Traffic Safety, which deploys officers to go target primary collision factors that do cause the accidents. And then we are working on right now getting our motor officer sent to school and get him trained. So once he completes that, we'll have a full-time motorcycle officer go out and do enforcement also. Also, our patrol officers go out there and enforce traffic violations.
And I believe that Chief Hansen told me that we're going to have 2 motorcycles now, or was that correct, or?
We have 2, but
We have
we're
2, right?
sending 1 to motor school. So
Okay.
in the future, we'll have a second motor officer.
Okay, thank you.
I have another question, and I can't remember. Don't get old. Okay, it just went, I don't know. Sorry. Great job.
Mr. Gross, anything? Okay, the last meeting, I believe we were speaking about the total staffing for PD, and I think if we're not already to full staffing, we're very close. And then once we reached full staffing, and I think it was 33 officers, we were going to take a look at expanding further and maybe getting up to the recommended level of officers would be 39, I think. I'm aware that we have one school resource officer, and they're stationed at Desert Hot Springs High School. Is that correct?
Yes, right now we have Officer Toscano, which she's here tonight outside. She's the school resource officer. She's stationed at Desert Hot Springs High School.
Okay.
In regards to staffing, we are at 31 right now with 2 slated to go to the academy in January. So that would bring us to full staff.
Excellent. Have we given thought to more school officers?
I haven't heard anything with the discussion. Deputy Chief Shaw might have.
Deputy Chief Shaw would? Okay. I'll perhaps broach that subject with him when he returns. Thank you. I called you the chief of police, but, because, 19 out of 20 times it is a chief. You're a commander, and maybe I'm projecting your career a little bit forward, which would be a good thing, right? Thank you very much for that report. All right.
I
One more question?
remember.
You remember?
Yes.
Go for it.
Our new green line things that I do not approve of on the street, when people realize, oh, I shouldn't be here, they just come over. Have you found an increase in violations of people rushing over? Because coming home the other night, a person must have realized he was, there and should have been here. I mean, he came across like I wasn't even there. I mean, are we as police officers seeing any big change in that, or that people are not paying attention to what they're supposed to be doing? On Palm, talking about Palm.
Not that I'm aware of. I haven't heard any concerns from patrol officers at this point.
It's odd. Okay. I made it, though. I mean,
Yeah.
it's crazy when people don't see you.
Well, sometimes you can look at past meetings and recordings of previous meetings where I've spoken on the subject.
Yeah.
Sometimes driving in this city is an adventure. And I've told my wife, I said, we're just going to get in a wreck. This is going to happen. I said, she's an insurance broker. I said, make sure we're all paid up, make sure our policies are
Amen.
current, and hopefully nobody gets hurt. And we're waiting with bated breath for traffic enforcement to expand. And I have a clicker in my own mind. I said, all right, I just want to look at I'm looking at my odometer, and how far can I travel before I see something crazy happen
Right.
traffic-wise? And goodness, I've only gone a half a mile. I've already seen somebody do something dumb, and add it up, and I'm wondering, is it Wednesdays where I have to travel a lesser distance before somebody blows a stop sign, or, like Donna says, runs right up, treats the bike lane like it's a regular traffic lane? It's been going on for a while. So again, whatever we need to do, get that motor officer and more than one traffic enforcement officer out there, we're waiting. We're on the edge of our seat for that, and we appreciate your expediting that matter. All right. If there is nothing else for the assembled representatives of our public services, we will move to the commissioner reports section of our meeting. Who would like to go first?
So I met with Chief Henson, and actually which I was really surprised because when we spoke, unless I misunderstood, I'm hoping I didn't, but he mentioned that in regards to personnel and equipment, that he feels pretty good with it and that there's budget for it. So he did mention, though, that one of the things that he would really like for us to work on, and I think it's an excellent idea, it's to actually start getting the community together to with law enforcement, so they can, because again, the public safety is not just their job, it's the whole community that has to put their 2 cents in. And he did ask if we can start looking into that, into getting some events, whether it be For example, it'll be and I know it's coming soon, but for example, for Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, maybe some type of a community event where the police, the fire department can go out there and start being with people, educating them, bringing material. I think that's one of the things that he was most concerned because it wasn't really happening that much. And I actually think that it's a great idea. However, that is, I think, in my opinion, that's only half of our challenge, because I can tell you now that this past month, I met with several people in the community in the park and by Stater Brothers, and one of the problems is, and we can see it here, that people are not interested in coming. They're not coming. They don't really. I'll tell you right now that about 80-90% of the people that I spoke to, they feel disenfranchised, that nobody listens to them. So why bother coming? So I think our first challenge is for us to start thinking of ways of bringing people. I mean, just today I posted a Facebook post inviting people over. The comments were awful. I mean, I'm not going there. They never listen to me. It's useless. So I think part of our challenge as a commission is to start talking to people and letting them know that their voice can be heard, that they have an open mic here so they can come and voice their opinions. And then after we start getting people involved, then maybe we can start working on some type of events where we can get the community and the first responders together. I think, and I was looking at the last meeting, and I know there were talks about emergency preparedness. This would be also a great way to start educating people on emergency preparedness, and who they can contact, what they can do. I think it's something that we should really focus on.
Just briefly, I was going to ask the police commander, are they still doing the police academy, the Citizens Police Academy, or something similar to that for citizens to be educated on how law enforcement works in town?
Not that I'm aware of right now.
Now that you're aware,
Anything about it.
yeah, I know that was brought up at one point. Well, I was involved at the inaugural Citizens Fire Academy in my former place of employment, and I agree with Commissioner Trejo. That would be a great way to perhaps entice people to come to the meetings, is just to, let people know what we're doing and why. There were a lot of questions as to what happens when the fire station doors close. What do you guys do when we don't see the engine or the truck company driving the streets? And it was very well received when we did it. I know that the city I worked for also had a police academy, and it also got rave reviews. I don't know. The logistics of doing that can sometimes be challenging, because if you're going to if a firefighter wanted to participate and teach a class, or if a police officer wanted to teach a class, naturally, we'd have to discuss some form of compensation. They'd have to have equipment. They'd have to have transportation. So, and maybe if the two representatives of fire and police can take this message back to their colleagues and coworkers and explore just basic questions as to how we can put something like that together.
I have some information for you. So you may or may not know this, but the city's actually putting together, they did it last year, they're doing it this year, what is called the Civics Academy.
Civics Academy.
And so the
correct.
Civics Academy is basically public members sign up and they come into City Hall and they go get a presentation from each department head or some of the staff from each department to kind of figure out how each part of the city works. That does include the fire department and that does include the police department. They're not going to get, an academy out of it, but they're going to get to be able to ask the questions that they want to ask and get some pertinent information. And I believe the fire department portion of that is in November, but the academy is full. I think there's 20 or 25 people in it.
Okay, great. And there's no charge for their attendance, is there?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Okay. So that's excellent that we have that. So, okay, I'll turn it over to my other commissioner. Thank
And
you.
also, I think that we can plan for a national night out for next year. It was October 3rd for Desert Cities. I know Palm Springs did have one, Las Vegas had theirs. For everyone else, it's in August because, we can't do it in August because it's 100+ degrees. So for desert cities, it falls on October 3rd. So we have enough time to plan for, National Night Out for DHS. We used to participate in it, from what I understand, but we haven't for a number of years also. I did, and like you, I have reached out to people via email to invite them to our meetings. However, there's no response, from those individuals. But I did get a response from the president of the HOA at Desert Willows, and I know council members Gardner and Pye met with them, as well as Chief Henson met with them, because they have been having issues. And I got an email from the president of the HOA, and they're still having issues. She said that people are still jumping over the wall, especially at the Atlantic Street and Flora Avenues. And she is requesting more drive-bys in that area if possible. I know they had other issues, but it seems like those have been resolved. But she said people are still jumping over the wall at that intersection. Okay.
And I also want to piggyback on that. Many of the people that I spoke to, another, I would say, hotspot that a lot of people complained, it's also the that AM/PM. I don't know if something needs to be done there or what we can also work on, but probably like 4 or 5 people that I spoke to said that they either been intimidated or robbed in the AM/PM. And then another hotspot is also I think there's like a 99-cent store by the Rio Rancho, not the Rio Rancho, the Rancho Market. Also, there's a lot of things going on there that are not really good. So yeah, but and that's basically the concern of the people. I mean, that's one of the things that I also wrote here, National Night Out. I also wrote, I know that, and I'm probably saying about 9 or 10 years ago. I remember that they used to do events at the park with the police, with the police and the fire station and the fire department. The community would go there. They would have things for the kids, and it was just a great way for the community to start gaining trust. And I think that's something that we really need to bring to council if we have to, so we can start doing that.
Yeah, I'm just trying to remember the name of, there's an academy out here. I don't know, it was a public safety academy. And it was a school, and we actually were invited to tour it. And we had a representative from there, or from the high school actually, come out every month and tell us what was happening in the city and, in this academy. It was a very, very nice thing that they were doing. And I hear nothing about that anymore. I wonder, is anyone aware of what I'm talking about? Are you?
Yes, ma'am. The high school has a public safety academy, and every year and age of student that wants to can choose that as an elective. They'll go through the public safety academy, and say you're a freshman, the topic might be EMS, then sophomore might be fire department, junior might be police department, and then senior year might be like criminal justice, something to that effect. They have a whole facility that has training rooms, state-of-the-art stuff in there. They have a whole bunch of different manipulative fire department stuff, police department stuff. They're training, and recently the fire department worked with them to put together a Fire Explorer program that will be getting off the ground actually next week. We have 3 explorers from the Public Safety Academy that will be getting their gear and starting to do ride-outs with the fire department. And once we get that part smoothed out, then we'll open it up to more recruits. I know I don't want to speak for the commander, but I'm pretty sure it's the same for the police department. They've been working pretty closely with the PSA.
Well, who is the principal of that academy now?
So the director of the Public Safety Academy, his
Director.
name is Eric Huber.
Oh, he's still there. He's the same person.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, we should go see that. It was very interesting. And it really says a lot of what we are doing. People have no clue, that we have intelligence. I'm serious. I mean, you talk to people and they have no clue. They think still that our city is not worthy of anything, actually. And I think that academy was wonderful. So, do you have his number any longer, or
Yes, ma'am. I could share that with you after the meeting.
Okay, thank you. I would like to be able to ask him to even come in here, as he did once before, and explain all the things and everything. It was very interesting. And preparedness was part of you, too, was all the learning CPR and all of those things. Yeah, okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I recently graduated from Desert Hot Springs High School. So we have mainly two academies there. So there's REAL, which is renewable energy, and then there's also the Public Safety Academy. So those can both kind of expose students to, and then if they would like to, prepare them for a career in that field. So those are all really great, and they kind of have their own section of campus that was recently built for all of that. Yeah, I would definitely be
A
willing
wonderful
to
thing.
visit them.
Yeah, it was one. It's their own area, isn't it? Yeah, okay. Because I remember when some building was happening. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else?
I'm good.
Well, Commissioner
Yeah.
Crowe,
Wait, Kate.
I was remiss. When the first time you were up here, I asked you to submit a report, which was really not fair of me to do. Because you're new, in the interest of welcoming you, if you weren't participating in research or anything like that as of yet, I was just going to go ahead and ask you if you could tell us a little bit about yourself, what brought you to public service and this commission specifically, and if you have any ideas for the direction you'd like us to take.
Okay, yeah, thank you. I could tell you a little bit about myself. So I've lived in Desert Hot Springs since I was about 8, so I've gone to all of the local schools here, and I really enjoy being a part of the community, and I think we get a bad rap when we shouldn't necessarily.
Absolutely.
And I think government's really important. It's something I've always been interested in and have always paid attention to, even when I was far younger. And so there was certain issues I was having in high school, and that led me to speak to the Board of Education. And then I ran for the Board of Education in the most recent election. And so I'm just trying to look to get involved and make Desert Hot Springs better in any way I can.
Oh, wonderful.
Great.
I like that very much.
Yeah, that's way cool. I like when you said far younger, too. That was a good one. Maybe a little
Well,
bit slower.
I remember at the Boys and Girls Club here, I would watch the presidential election, the 2016 one, with some of the staff members there. We'd always watch the news and things. So always something I've been interested in. There's just a few things I'd like to bring up. So
Please.
me, Commissioner Martin Mitchell, and then Councilmember Betts, we talked a little bit about trail cameras. I would like to get that added to the next agenda to maybe discuss common dumping sites and the possibility of adding trail cameras. I have one with me right here. These are about $40. Very simple, very cheap, not at all cost prohibitive. Very easy to set up, and they're motion detected. And so we would probably recoup any money spent on them through fines. And I think that would be a really good way to kind of address the dumping here. So I'd like to discuss that further.
I don't
Okay.
understand that. What does it do?
So there's a little camera here, and they're motion detected.
Oh,
So if someone walks by, if they're dumping, if they're just in the area, then it would start recording. And then that way you wouldn't really have to sort through all of the
I see.
footage. Anytime there's an event, it would be stored on here. And these are all just battery powered. So they're very simple. You just set them up somewhere that's not very obvious. And we could have these hopefully set up in common dumping sites.
And that would be legal?
Well, it's something we'd have to discuss further, but provided it's a public place, I imagine so.
Commander, do you have any thoughts on that?
That's depending on where it's set up. Some areas might be private property, I mean, or it's public land, or it's BLM land. You have to, depends where the dumping sites, I have to get with code enforcement about that, to see
Yeah.
which sites are publicly or privately owned.
Okay.
Yeah, so provided it is appropriate for those areas, that's something we should discuss. And then I'm sure even if it is private property, if they're having issues with dumping, I don't think many property owners would be opposed to something like this. And then also, I very much support like community policing, so what Commissioner Trejo was talking about. So I think it's really important for police and fire to be involved with the community and kind of show face, and that can hopefully improve relationships with police, especially given the climate right now, and that'll lead to better outcomes and better reporting of incidents.
All right.
That's all, thank you.
No, that's fine, that's
Good,
great.
Yeah.
I like that. So, regarding the cameras, I think before we go ahead and agendize it, we'll probably arrange a meeting between yourself and a representative of law enforcement to see just what is legal as far as establishing. I know for a fact that we talked about the plain view doctrine a little bit earlier in the meeting. You know, if we were to put a drone in the sky, for example, if we were going to try and put a drone over an illegal dumping site or something that we may think might generate a code violation, that we can't have that drone any closer than 400 feet from the Earth's surface at that point. Any closer to the property from 400 feet is a violation of the Fourth Amendment. So, you know, they talk about fruits of the poisonous tree. I'm sure you've heard that at some point in your training. Any information that's illegally obtained won't stand up in a court of law. So I think that probably would be a reasonable first step, would be to sit down with law enforcement and have them edify us on what's legal and what's not. And then once we get direction from that, maybe we can go ahead and agendize it on a future meeting.
Yeah, absolutely. That's something I would agree with. Of
Okay.
course, want to make sure we're following the letter of the law.
Well, absolutely. Yeah, we're kind of, the law is kind of they're the light in the darkness, you know, and we follow them. You know, they go off this way, we go off this way, we fall off a cliff. All right, well, thank you for that. Make sure I have the right glasses on. My own report, I just have a couple of quick items. I did meet with the city attorney, and I actually think we reached some resolution on what I was discussing with her tonight about notification to significant incidents.
Wow.
I spoke earlier with Councilmember Jan Pai, and we have tentatively been added to the same
Good.
apparatus as the city council. So we'll be getting it,
That would be good.
we've been subscribed. Is that correct, Mr. McVeigh?
Yes, Jan Pai asked me to subscribe you guys, so I have all your emails, so for any kind of news releases, it'll be going out.
Okay. And keep in mind, when we get information, that the news releases, whatever information we get is limited by what's going on as far as, you know, ongoing investigations, arson investigations, criminal investigations. That's the information we cannot have, because we cannot jeopardize the integrity of any investigation.
Absolutely.
Okay, we wouldn't want to do that. So, you know, that was excellent. That's been going on for, probably half my tenure here. I met with John Girardi. Maybe that's somebody we can talk to about the Public Safety Academy as well, getting a
Okay.
tour of there. He is the president of the Palm Springs Unified School District, the board. It was unrelated at first to public safety, but I did ask him about the Painted Hills Middle School. They have a multipurpose room there. And to echo a little bit of what Commissioner Trejo was saying earlier, making the meetings accessible and enticing people to attend. It was brought up by, within the last year, I think it was Council Members Gardner, I've heard it from Council Member Betts, and maybe from Council Member Pai as well, about what's called a road show. And we would take this meeting and we would have it at another venue other than City Hall.
Oh, right.
But it would have to, and Mr. McVeigh can help me out with this, it would have to be in a venue that could accommodate what we have to accomplish by law. if we have to televise the meeting, it should be amenable to televising the meeting. If they want to know us, if they want to see and hear us vote, that has to be available, so.
Yeah, I mean, all the recording equipment is here. So.
Okay, yeah. I mean, if we were able to do that, it's maybe someone up here on the dais would accompany you. We'll scout the location out, and if it doesn't meet our requirements, then we scratch it from our list. But this was discussed by council members. This was their idea, to go ahead and bring our meetings out closer to the public.
We talked about that long.
Yes, sir. I would just say go through Deputy Chief Shaw.
Okay, I will talk to the chief when he returns, and, great.
I recall that conversation a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Same type of thing, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But nothing happened.
Yeah, nothing happened. I understand the logistics that are involved, and the only other site that I thought would maybe satisfy the requirements would be the rec center, since we've had the
Yeah.
state of the city, and we've had the cameras and the speakers and everything set up there. So, if there was another venue, we could look at that. But if no other venue meets that requirement, then we have the rec center. And
I guess my question is, does it have to be live, or can it be recorded and put it on YouTube or the city site at a later date?
No, we need to do this live.
It has to be live?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, I know we're live, but I was wondering if it had to be live, if the meetings have to be live.
I think that's for transparency. Yeah.
I think it's it relates to the Brown Act, to go ahead and have it live. Well, thank you for all the questions. I'd like to thank the representatives of the city services for attending tonight's meeting. If anyone were to have the wherewithal to view a recording of this meeting, as well as meetings of the Planning Commission and City Council dating back to 2009, please visit the city website at cityofdhs.org. Okay, our next scheduled meeting, I believe, is November 9th. I don't know if that's going to be affected by the holiday 2 days later. It shouldn't be, but it might be. So I'm going to go ahead and get on a limb and say it's November 9th is the date of our next scheduled meeting here in these chambers at 6 o'clock. If there's nothing else, we stand adjourned. Thank you and good night.